Southwest Fire Academy was established in 2015 as a response to the recognized need for quality, safe, and affordable fire and rescue training in Ontario. This is not your average fire college. SFA has high standards for their students, and it is their mission to teach and produce qualified, ambitious firefighters who are prepared to work hard to serve their communities. This is not a diploma mill. This is where you can learn strategic, aggressive firefighting from passionate, intelligent instructors who never forget why they were made to do this job. SFA is an accredited private career college that is regulated by the Ministry of Training, colleges, and universities, with a memorandum of understanding with the Office of the Fire Marshal. This means that SFA is an approved training provider with the OFM, and the programs are recognized in Ontario. Check out their pre-service and expanding selection of course offerings at southwestfireacademy.ca. Hello everyone. Welcome to episode 124 of Multiple Calls. I'm Scott Hewlett. Great instructors remove or mitigate uncertainty with knowledge and skills that can be trusted. Said best by one of the best, Dennis Laguerre. Never insert a variable where we can insert a constant. If in hearing this you are wondering, how do I know what knowledge and skills I can trust? Ask yourself these questions. Is the instructor leading with fear of them and the problems? Or are they helping me become self-aware and leading me through the 4 stages of competency? Are they believing in my ability to learn and improve and allowing me to confirm that? Or are they pulling the rug out from under me before I even have the chance? Who is the training focused on? And is it respectful and honest? Here's my chat with Paul Hollingshead.
Ready to jump in?
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Okay. Well, start off with where you grew up and tell me a bit about your family.
I grew up just north of Toronto by about an hour in a small little town called Lloydtown. Lloydtown had maybe a couple hundred people in it, and it's a little hamlet off of Schaumburg. And for the people who don't know, Schaumburg is right on basically Highway 27, Highway 9, just west of Highway 400, but essentially Newmarket area. We moved to Milton when I was 8 years old, but I spent a lot of my childhood in Lloydtown, and it was kind of nice because it was a very country, very kind of secluded. So I got to really experience the outdoors. And literally, I think if I wasn't in school, I was outside. At a certain time, I knew to come home for dinner type thing. Like, that's just the way it was. When we moved to Milton in the early 80s, it was like moving to Toronto. The comparison between the two, it was quite drastic. And it was exciting because here I am as this young kid growing up out in the country. And now I'm in a town of, I think it was around 20,000 people population in Milton when we moved here. But it was quite significant. It was like, oh, wow, we can actually go to a mall. I can actually walk to a corner store. Yeah, it was quite exciting. And I've lived in Milton ever since. When it comes to family, part of the reason why we moved to Milton was my mother unfortunately passed away early in life. In 1980, she had cancer. And just how crude everything was back in the day, when she would talk about having back pain, the doctor's like, oh, well, try a new bed, try this, try that. Well, by the time they got everything figured out, the cancer had gone so far that she wasn't able to recover from it. So she passed away. I think she was 36 years old and I was only 6 years old. And I think the years after that, it was really tough for my family because my dad, he married his high school sweetheart. Everything in Lloydtown and Schaumburg all revolved around their friends and them being together. And I think after my mom passed, it was just too tough for my dad to kind of be around that. So him working for Air Canada was a great opportunity to move to Milton because that's where all his coworkers work, because Milton is just west of Pearson International Airport by about 25 minutes. So it was kind of a no-brainer for my father to have a new start, like actually closer to work than what we would be in Lloydtown. And it gave my sister and I an opportunity to kind of maybe have a bit of a fresh start as well. I have an older sister. She's 4 years older than me. It was an interesting transition once again, because moving to a new town, kind of leaving what we all knew back in that small town of Lloydtown to come to this bigger town. It was interesting. I think it was a bit of a shock to my system because I had a heck of a time in school. And my dad really tried to help get me back up to speed. I ran into so many problems because of the time off with my mom that when we moved to Milton, it was hard for me to get back up to speed. So I know this is kind of an embarrassing thing to state, but I had to be held back a year. Losing my mom, moving towns, starting a year behind. It was all very overwhelming when we moved here. But my dad, he did his best. My sister, once again, she was 4 years older than me, and she was really good at school. Like, she would always be able to focus and be able to, like, nothing really came natural to her, but she was able to focus and get work done. And she really kind of helped me get through those earlier years into basically high school. And then I was pretty much self-sufficient. Family, I have my aunt and uncles. They're all over on my father's side. He had a big family. He had a younger brother, 2 younger sisters. So my dad was the oldest in the family. And the Hollingshead family's kind of scattered all over Ontario. We were never really close as a family, but I think my dad was kind of that connecting point where he always made a very conscious effort to get us together for special occasions with the whole family. And that was really nice, especially Christmas. Christmas was always a big deal in the Hollingshead family. And we would always migrate together from wherever. We'd find a middle meeting place and get together. That was always nice.
And you lost him suddenly in 2020.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a shock to the system. Once again, like my dad and I weren't very close. Like, we never really started to bond until they moved. So my dad and my stepmom. So my dad met a woman shortly after we got here to Milton, and they've been together. Actually, I still consider her my mom. She's been in my life for almost 35 years. When they moved to a small town called Seaforth in 99, and I got a full-time job and everything was moving forward, I didn't really get close to my dad until probably 10 years ago, when we found a special bond on working on vehicles. So I loved working on old Volkswagen Beetles. Well, my dad was retired. He loved going on eBay and sourcing parts for these Volkswagen cars. So I was at work and I got a phone call from my dad. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Dad, like, why are you calling me? Well, it was my mom. And she was crying and screaming. She's like, oh, your dad, he's here. He's on the floor. He's blue. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I go, Mom, just hang up the phone and call 911. And she's like, I am. It was a huge shock because being on a peer support, I was very fortunate when I started with the Oakville Fire Department. I joined the peer support team because I felt I had a lot to offer this peer support team. And I would hear guys talk about, hey man, I just lost my dad. And I was always very sympathetic and always listened and tried to understand and be a helpful ear, but I could never really understand the pain that they were going through from losing a father. And that moment, like when that happened, it was just unreal. And I was just very fortunate that when I was at work, I had a lot of great people around me that looked after me, made sure I got home, made sure that my wife was called and she was going to join me here at home. And then we made our way up to Seaforth to see my poor mom. That was a shock to the system for sure.
What was your first exposure to the fire service?
Back in the day, it's like high school. If you're not doing good in high school, you're going to get a job. So he got a job very early with Air Canada. Probably he was 18 years old, and he was on the ramp crew there. And he had a great group of friends that they would, after work, they would go for beers. They had a really great, tight social network. And my dad wanted me to encourage me to get a job very similar with teamwork, working with your hands, getting involved, helping others. But the fire department stuff never kind of came to mind. Like I was watching my father as a kid when I was growing up. He had difficulty when it came to if my sister and I were sick and he had to take us to the hospital. My dad would always get very lightheaded. Like the doctors would say, "Oh, Mr. Hollingshead, you better lay down." So I would be seeing this. I'm like, my dad can't really handle the medical aspect of life. And I thought, geez, like I couldn't get into a paramedic or fire or police or anything that's going to deal with trauma because I don't think I'll be able to handle it. So when I was in school, they always give you these opportunities. And I was so fortunate to take opportunities in a program that you might be interested in. And firefighting was one of them. So the Milton Fire Department back in the day would offer a co-op. And I thought, geez, if I had the opportunity to get in as a co-op student, I can kind of see what's going on here because I hear about the teamwork of being a firefighter. I had to apply just like I was applying for a job. Like I had to sit down with the fire chief and it was really overwhelming. Like I walk in to this office and there's this man in a uniform, and back in the day he had a cigarette going, Harold Penson. It's hard to believe in the late 80s and the early 90s. There he is sitting there in his office and he's smoking a cigarette. And Harold Penson was the deputy chief, and Chief Playfair, he was the main chief, and he was ex-military. And he was all business, man. Like, I mean, shiny shoes, uniform squared away, and he was all business. The reason why they interviewed me is they knew the deputy fire chief, Harold Penson's niece, was good friends with my sister. So I kind of got a bit of got my foot in the door that way. After the interview, the deputy, Harold Penson, he said to me, he's like, "Hey, listen, you better, if you get this position, you need to cut your hair." Because I was in my mid-teens, I had long hair and I was all just so cool. And I thought, I got to cut my hair. Like it's just starting to get long. But I wanted the challenge and I thought it'd be really important. So I cut my hair. They gave me the opportunity and it was really exciting. The people that I worked with, so the Milton Fire Department was very tiny back in the late early 90s. There was only, I think, 3 or 4 full-time people there. And they had a lot of fun. They would literally torture me. They would mess up my bunker gear, time me putting it on. They would mess up the hydrant somehow and time me turning on the hydrant. They were always giving me a hard time. And in hindsight, during the time, I was just like, geez, these guys are always giving me a hard time. I later learned that they were giving me a hard time because they liked me. That was quite an interesting exposure to the fire service. But after that, I still wasn't sure about the actual firefighting role because the guys would show me pictures of calls that they went on, like for the more of the fire investigative stuff. And it interested me, but I just didn't think I had it in me. So when it came to college, now in the mid 90s, getting on the fire department was going to be very tough. You had to have a secondary education. So I went to Seneca College for the fire alarm and sprinkler program. And I really loved it. I loved the problem solving of the fire alarm systems. I loved the aspect of running sprinkler pipe. The schooling was fantastic. A lot of the people that I was around, though, they all wanted to be firefighters. So in 1996, I had an opportunity as a contract communicator for the Milton Fire Department. So essentially answering the 911 phone. I just thought, geez, this might be an opportunity to kind of, once again, get it a little bit closer to the fire service, get my foot in there and feel things out. It was very interesting being someone in their late teens, answering a phone and people yelling and screaming, asking for help. And I got the front row seat because where the communications room was, it faced the driveway where all the firefighters would come in, get changed, hop in the trucks and blast out. Because the Milton Fire Department in the 90s, they only had a daytime staff of firefighters, and at night it was purely volunteer. So it was exciting to be able to be on the phone, listen to this person saying that they're in trouble, they need help, I would go out, I would dispatch the appropriate crews. They'd come running in and they would go blasting out. And it was really exciting to be able to see all this happen. So in 98, when they did the first actual Milton Fire Department recruitment, I was lucky enough to get on as a volunteer firefighter. And they do a 1-year training program with you, and then you graduate. That was really exciting. Actually, the very first fire call I ever went on was April 1st, 1998. And only half the recruit class showed up. There was only 12 of us, and only half of us showed up because the other half thought that it was just an April Fool's joke. Like, there's no way that we're getting a fire on April 1st, the first day we're allowed to respond to a call. So that was really exciting. And I had an opportunity, like the gruesome part of the job, like to see, hey man, like, can I actually handle this? We unfortunately went to a tragic car accident, and I got to witness the worst of the worst right off the hop. And I remember turning to one of my classmates, one of my 98 classmates, and I said to him, I'm like, oh geez, like, what's this? Like, what's the smell? What's this? And he just looked at me and he's like, yeah, these people, they're dead. And I remember getting a little lightheaded, but then I just kind of came to my senses, and he said to me, he's like, Paul, like, look, we're here to help, man. Like, these people put themselves in this position. We're here to help. We've tried to do our best. Think about it this way. The lady over in the other vehicle, she's injured, but she's going to be okay. We cut her out of the car. She's in the ambulance. She's going to the hospital. She's going to be okay. Think about it that way. And once again, it was the brotherhood, the sisterhood of the job, getting together with everybody. It was really exciting. So when I graduated Seneca College in 98, I got a full-time job doing sprinkler systems and alarm systems, what I wanted to do. It ended up that at the end of the year, I was making $25,000 a year. And here it is. It's like 98, 99. I want to move out of my house. My parents want to retire and move to Seaforth. And I'm making $25,000 a year. After a year of doing that job, I got a 25-cent raise. And I just thought, man, oh man, I am never going to be able to, what type of life I'm going to have if I continue to do this work. And it was sprinkler work. I worked for a very small company. We always had like real dirty jobs, and it was a tough job. And I remembered that the full-time firefighters were making $50,000-$55,000. And I'm like, wow, like if I could become a firefighter, I could be eventually making double the amount of money that I'm making right now. An opportunity, because Milton didn't hire very often in 99, an opportunity came up to get a job. They were only hiring 3 people. And I had some friends from Seneca. They got hired with Mississauga Fire. So Larry Jackson with Mississauga Fire, he's a captain there now. I have to credit him for getting on full time, because I was starting to lose a little bit of momentum that I was trying to get on other departments, but I was always falling a little short on the testing. And when he got hired in April of 99, he said, hey, Paul, here's all my study notes. Take my study notes, focus on the math. When Milton hires, like, just knock it out of the park. So I was against the odds. There was a lot of great people that were applying for these 3 positions. I didn't think I stood a chance. I was young. I was probably a little too eager, a little too goofy. I don't know. Like, I thought I was definitely against the odds that I would make this opportunity happen. And I gave it everything I had. I studied everything Larry gave me. I took tutoring lessons for extra math. And when the dust settled during the testing, I came in 3rd. And I still couldn't believe it. I still, even to this day, after almost 30 years, I can't believe that I got hired, because through the interview process, I had help. Chris Burke, an old friend here in Milton, he really encouraged me because he was in the interview process too. I have a lot to thank him too. And whenever I called the deputy to talk to him, like, hey man, it's been 4 or 5 days. Like, can you just tell me yes or no? And when he told me yes, I literally almost dropped the phone. I could not believe that I got hired. And in my interview, I said to the deputy and the chiefs and the HR person, I said, listen, I'm the type of person that if you tell me to go down to that apparatus bay and scrub the floor with a toothbrush, I'll be like, okay, no problem. Let me get some toothbrushes. And I would like to believe that's kind of the same way that I am today. Like, I am still extremely, extremely thankful for being in the fire service and the opportunities that it has given me. And starting my career, I think my official start date full-time was August of 99. I've just always been severely grateful for those opportunities and this opportunity.
When you wrote to me about mentors, you mentioned Tim Roberts. So talk to me about him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Tim Roberts. And he has set up so many people in this province for success to become full-time. In 98, our first recruit class ever in the Milton Fire Department, he said to us, any fire department can make you a firefighter, but it's your choice to be a great firefighter. And he talked about many other things, and physical fitness was another thing. He's just like, you don't have the right to be out of shape. You need to exercise. You need to work extremely hard, because if you're not working hard and working on your physical fitness and your health, it's not just you, it's the people that you work with and the public that will suffer from your lack of dedication and focus on your physical activity. And he really set a tone for me that if I go back to being part of the fire department as a co-op student, I was having some financial problems just past co-op. When I went into college, I was having some financial issues, and my parents didn't have much money. And I remember telling him the one day, I said, geez, buddy, like I'm going to be short. I think it was like $180, or maybe it was even more. It was actually a considerable amount of money for the 90s. I said, I'm going to be short money to be able to buy these books for the next semester. And he gave me the money. And I just like, oh, I got kind of talking to you about it. I don't expect you to give me this money. He's like, no, listen, we'll make it up. Like, come in the summer, come up to my place, cut the grass. We'll work it off. Not a problem. And he kind of took me under his wing. So in my recruitment year in 98 and my first few years on full time, he really kind of kept me in check. If I started getting a little too cocky, a little too confident, he would knock me down a pin and get me to refocus. And still to this day, I look to him for advice. Like he would always kind of be that calm, mature voice that would be able to give me some advice. And I just like, it's just one of those things that you have to think about what he was saying and appreciate that he would talk to you, because he didn't have much of a social circle. He was a bit of a guy who kind of kept to himself. So for him to want to take some time to spend time with me and give me advice, it was always something that meant a lot to me. But the amount that he would give back to the community and to the volunteer firefighters to set them up for success was unbelievable. Like, I could not even start mentioning people's names right now that are on full time because of him, because of his vision that he saw in them. He saw them to be better than what they were putting forward, and he would always be encouraging. Like I said, he's now well into his late 60s now, and he still exercises with me. We still mountain bike together. We do all these crazy fitness things like high rocks together. He has been literally a lifetime mentor, off the job and on the job. Actually, if it wasn't for him, I probably would not have taken the job in Oakville. Once again, he was one of those people that he would see more in you than what you would see in yourself. He was just one of those guys.
You mentioned in your write-up that in your rookie year, your crew was viciously aggressive. So tell me what you mean by that.
The fire department was very tiny. It was only one truck for the first 10 years of my career. And the crew that I had, my captain, he had a natural ability to be a leader. He was very much like his father. Murray McConnell was a full-time firefighter back in the 90s and was kind of technically my first captain. Murray McConnell had the ability to kick your butt because you weren't putting in the work and you weren't hustling and you weren't working hard at a fire. He would just tear into you. But an hour later, you're going out for beers with him. He had that ability, his natural leadership ability to be able to forcefully guide somebody into doing a right job or making you not want to disappoint him. But you never really held a grudge, or he never held a grudge. Like, it was an unbelievable leadership trait that I thought was amazing. Well, it just happened that his son was now my full-time captain. And us as a crew, we never wanted a fire to ever beat us. We were like, no, there's no way. We are getting in. We are getting this fire out. We want to get these people back in their home as soon as possible. We're getting this fire out. And there was many times that we would come out of a fire after it was out, and the district chiefs back in the day were all volunteer, but these guys had like 35, 40 years on the job as a volunteer. And we would be coming out of these houses and they would say, you guys are crazy. We would have never went in there. We would have never done that. How did you ever think about doing that? Or why would you approach it like that? And it was just because of how aggressive we were, how confident my captain, Mike, was, and his leadership. Like, we never thought about the consequences. We were so concentrating that this is someone's house. This is someone's belongings. Like, I don't know how many fires I've been in that you're crawling along and you look over on the wall and there's a wedding picture, right? Pictures of kids, all that stuff. And it's just like, these people, they put their trust in us to get to these fires and put them out as quickly as possible. And I know building construction has changed drastically since then, but our crew was very, very, very aggressive. When I was lucky enough to be promoted to captain in 2009, that mentality stuck with me because I was over on the east side of Milton at Station 4, and then the other crew was over at Station 3 over on Derry Road. And I'll mention a couple of names and you'll know them. Andrew Broussard, Chris Burke. Those guys were the opposite truck to us. So if we were sleeping or we weren't on our game, those guys were going to be grabbing the hose. They were going to be grabbing the line. They were going to be grabbing the tools, and they were going to be doing the work if we didn't put in that effort. So we were very aggressive. Once again, I would say my full career on the trucks was very aggressive, and our focus was 100% for the people of the town. And we wanted to make sure that we were putting out as our best effort to make sure that they were going to be safe. I don't regret a second of any of those decisions we ever made to go into those fires, get in around those cars under really bad situations. It was amazing, amazing career on the trucks.
You promoted to acting captain pretty soon after getting on full time. So tell me about how that happened.
At the right place at the right time. Milton, once again, was a very small department. And in 2002, I was promoted to acting captain. The fire department was growing a little bit. So we went from being the original, I think, 5 full-time people in 99 to then in 2004 or 2005, we had a full 24/7 truck in Milton. And being an acting captain was a very humbling, a very great experience for me, because I would fall into the trap of thinking I knew everything. And my crew was senior enough to kind of keep me in check. And I had a captain, once again, Mike, who was very calm, and things came so natural for him. So even though I wanted to go, we need to do this, we need to train, we need to blah, 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 the crew always seemed to kind of just keep me in check. And that was really good, because I had that difficulty of acting and then sitting in the back seat, because my captain would take all of July, all of August off. And I'd be so used to being in control and in charge that when he came back, I had a real hard time just sitting in the back and do what you're told. So it was a very good learning experience to be in that acting role. And I still say to this day that the acting role in the fire department is probably one of the toughest roles, because when you come to work, you might think, well, I'm a firefighter today. I'm going to be putting in the work. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, do what I'm told. be the best firefighter I can be. You show up to work. Well, your captain called in sick and he didn't tell you. Oh, now you have to totally change your mindset. Now you're just like, okay, you got to check in the truck differently. You got to check your gear differently. You got to get your head gathered around now in that supervisor role. But what I didn't realize at the time is that those pressures on you as an acting captain and to constantly be on your toes, it sets you up for whenever you get that full-time, that full red helmet. And when I got promoted to captain, I kind of let old Paul creep in where I knew everything and I was cocky and confident. And I called it the two-stripe flu. And I don't know if I talked to you about this before, but I call it the two-stripe flu because I've seen it before. I see guys get promoted to captain and all of a sudden I know everything. You guys do what I say because I'm in charge and I'm the captain and you listen to me and I know what I'm talking about. You guys don't. And once again, I got put in my place by my crew. And you can think to yourself, well, no, I'm the captain here. They need to listen to me. I'm now going to be putting them in their place. If they're turning their back to me, no, I'm going to make them face me. If I had that mentality, I would have been set up for failure. Like I wanted my crew to enjoy their time at work. I wanted them to enjoy being with me and me being their officer. So there's a lot of humble pie being dished out, but the respect was very reciprocal. I think from 2009 until I went into training, I really enjoyed being a captain. I still think to this day, being a captain on the trucks is probably one of the best positions that you can be in the fire service.
How did the move to training happen?
In the moment, I didn't realize that I was suffering a lot. I had a lot of problems with PTSD. Like I haven't been clinically diagnosed. Paul, you have PTSD. And once again, in the moment, I didn't realize what was going on. And then when I reflect back, and I'll talk about it later, I could see that I was having problems. In the moment, I didn't realize I was having these problems. I was really frustrated and I was getting mad all the time. And I think I wanted more out of the fire service and I just wasn't getting it. I was applying for deputy chief job in Milton and I got turned down, lack of experience, like no kidding. All I was a captain for a couple years on the trucks. And how could I expect to be moving into a deputy chief role? But once again, Tim Roberts, my mentor, he said, well, why don't you come into training? Like every time we go to training, you always show up prepared. You're always focused. You're always drilling with your crew. And once again, I was lucky enough to have guys like Andrew and Chris on the other truck pushing. And so if we didn't train, we were falling behind. Like every shift we were training or we were falling behind. And we did not want those guys showing us up. So he could see that I really enjoyed training. It was, unfortunately, in the Milton Fire Department, it was a demotion to go into training. So when you go off the trucks as a captain, now you're a little bit, I think it was like 2% or 3% over firefighter wage. You lose your rank. And that was so important to me, man. Like I worked so hard to become a captain. Once again, I remember when the chief called me and said, Paul, congratulations, you're a captain. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. So going into training was an opportunity that I thought I had a lot of passion for training, a lot of passion for our community, a lot of passion to see my guys getting better. Well, yeah, if I go into training, I can now take that passion from 5 guys or 4 guys, and now I can 15, 20 people, 30 people, 50 people, 60 people, and that expands. And I can hopefully get that passion for the job, passion for training to a bigger audience. In Milton, it wasn't a big deal. You can go into training, and then if there's a captain's job that opens up in a year from now, if I don't like training anymore, I can hop back over onto the truck. So there was really nothing to lose. We had a couple of recruit classes. So in 2016, I moved over into training in Milton in October, I think it was 2016. Started working on opening up my mind to now a larger audience. And luckily, January of 2017, we had our first recruit class. And that was really exciting to see like 25 people come in. And Tim Roberts turned to me and said, this is yours. I'll help you set up the schedule, but this is yours. You need to take care of all these things. And he, of course, anytime I hit a roadblock, I would go talk to him and he would talk me through it. And boy, oh boy, did I ever hit roadblocks and thinking like things were going to work out and they didn't. And being quick on your toes. You being in training, you understand that things sometimes don't go as planned. You need to overcome and adapt because there's people here waiting for you and depending on you to put something forward, and you can't just slough it off. It was a great opportunity to get me out of my shell and expand my mindset. After doing that for 2 years in Milton, once again, I was having problems. I was fighting with coworkers. I was battling over stupid things. I was losing focus. I was all over the place. And this is where my mentor said to me, hey, Oakville Fire Department's hiring a training officer. This is a great opportunity for you. You should take it. And I'm like, no, man, like Milton it's in my heart, man. Like I've bled for this community. There's no way I can leave. And why would I ever leave? And I know my retirement date here, and I'm like fifth from the top of all seniority. And why would I? He goes, plain and simple. He goes, Paul, you're wasting your time here. And I thought, what the heck? Like, how could he? I'm wasting my time here. But once again, he had that ability to see things in you that you couldn't see. I applied to Oakville in June of 2018 for that training position. And it was kind of funny. I always joke about this, but like training jobs weren't very popular, and they're still not very popular. And so when I got the job, I was hired by a Chief Belair. She was the deputy chief in Oakville, and she was an amazing, amazing woman. Like I had a 5-minute conversation with her on the phone because I was really hemming and hawing because I left a lot on the table leaving Milton. As you know, you've moved departments. You know that sometimes you leave a lot on the table to make these moves. But I literally had a 5-minute conversation with her on the phone that there was more leadership and positivity in that 5-minute phone call that I almost ever had in my whole career. And I got to work with this woman. Like she has some wisdom and some compassion and support that I thought this is amazing. I need to work with her. So I jumped all over it. And being in Oakville for the first, I think 5 years was just a blur. Like, holy cow. Oakville Fire Department is a department. It's not huge by any means, but it's big enough to really keep you moving, and you need to be on top of things. And it's just been a whirlwind, and it's been unbelievably exciting. It has taken me to places where I feel that, zero disrespect to Milton, like I love the Milton Fire Department. Once again, I get the odd message from the guys reminding me about times back in the day, and it really fills my heart. But Oakville has just it's been unbelievable. It's been an unbelievable experience.
A little bit out of order here, but walk me back to when you first started instructing, because your first foray into the world of instructing was interesting.
Oh, yes. No, that's a really good point. And I'll never forget it. I will never forget it. And I really appreciate you bringing that up, because when I got on full time, I thought I knew everything. So you can kind of see a bit of a trend here with me. Tim Roberts gave me a ventilation training program. And he says, okay, you need to go down and teach the volunteers about ventilation. And I thought, okay, I've got it. I'm full-time. I've been full-time for 2 years. I went to Seneca College. I know everything about ventilation. I don't have to prepare. I don't have to look over the notes. I don't have to do this, that. Well, here I am trying to put on a presentation on ventilation to a bunch of volunteer firefighters that have been on for a very long time. And the one district chief, Ron Townsend, he got up about 15 minutes into my presentation and he left, and I never thought like anything about it. I could tell that the crowd was not happy. They weren't buying what I was selling, and I was sweating, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going horribly wrong. After that session, Tim, he told me that, he goes, District Chief Townsend was in here, and he said that he never wants me to teach again. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, this goofball kid thinks he knows everything, standing up in front of all these guys, and I'm just blowing stuff out, and I'm not making sense. I wasn't prepared. It was horrible. I crashed and burned. And it was a very embarrassing moment for me. So when I had an opportunity to get into the medical field, so once again, I didn't think medical was a strong situation for me. Teaching point, learning point, all that stuff. But I really enjoyed learning about the anatomy, how the heart worked, all this stuff. So when I had an opportunity to learn heart and stroke CPR, I learned from an old school nurse. She came to Milton. She taught us all heart and stroke, the program. And boy, was she ever meticulous. And she would make us like look at all the small details and make sure we covered everything when we were teaching it, and how we performed our basic skills. She was on it. Boy, was she ever tough, but it really paid off because it sparked something in me. And I thought, geez, I think I could teach this. And I went back to Tim and I said, listen, Chief, I think I could teach this. And he's like, well, listen, you know what happened last time. Like, don't let this happen again. And I said, Chief, give me this chance. And I'm going to give it everything I had. It was a 3-day program. And I remember at the end of it, DC Townsend came up and he shook my hand and he said, Paul, that was the best training I've ever had. And I don't want anybody teaching us medical unless it's you. Like, I want you to be our medical prime for Station 1. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like it was amazing to be able to turn that around. Because if anybody's listening to this, if they know, unfortunately, DC Townsend passed away. These people that are listening, they knew him. He was a stickler for the details. He was a very intelligent man. He wanted things done right. He hated people when they were goofing around whenever it was time to be serious. And for him to say that fired me up. And that really gave me some focus that I still hold true to this day.
Before you went into training in Milton, you were mentioning how your cup was overflowing. And you wrote about a few incidents that you, thinking back, you realized those are the ones that sort of added up. Can you talk to me about those?
I might have mentioned it to you once again, Scott. Like, any opportunity that I get to hang out with you is always a good one, because you always spark so much conversation. And if someone did tell me at the beginning of my career, like in the 90s, no one would have ever told you, hey man, like your cup's going to get full, as in your emotional and your ability to be able to deal with stressful situations. It's going to overflow, or they use that analogy of a cup overfilling. And if someone said that to me back in early my career, I would have like, you're nuts, man. Like, we are so hardcore. Like, some of the stuff that we would do is like, I look back and I'm like, that was crazy. And there was 3 significant situations in 2016 that put me over the edge. And I just didn't know it until a couple of years later when I was in Oakville, and I felt happy again. Like, I felt fulfilled. I felt things were going really well. And I just started kind of thinking back to what was going on in my head. Like, here I am telling people, hey, you should hook up with a psychiatrist or somebody that you can talk to, someone who can help you when you're not doing well. And I'm telling all these people this, but I would never do it. I had a bad experience when I was younger with a therapist, and I just thought, why would I ever waste my time? So in 2016, there was 3 significant calls that I can recall that definitely put me over the edge. I realized it right away, but when I look back, and the anger issues, the sleep, the alcohol consumption, the relationship I had with my girlfriend, well, my wife now, it all just made sense. And these 3 calls, there was the first one was a tragic accident where these young people were racing, and it was a very traumatic call. It was close to our station. I was first in, and it was very traumatic visually, and dealing with it as a command officer, it was very stressful. And I remember one of the guys on the other truck said, Hollingshead, like, when you keyed the mic asking where we were, like, you really sounded rattled. And I'm like, I did? I guess I was. And I know I was in hindsight. And then we had another call shortly after that on the 401, where we had a very traumatic vehicle extrication. 2 transport trucks were involved. We had air ambulance there, and there's some really tough decisions that need to be made. And it was this call came in at like 4 or 5 in the morning, And there was just the two trucks there. And I remember the volunteer truck showed up, and I said to the captain, I said, "Hey, Cap, like, can you look around? Like, what are we missing here? Like, why can't we get these people out of this truck?" And he just came over and he's like, "You guys are doing everything that you could do. Like, it's just time." And at the end of that call, once again, some very difficult decisions had to be made. I remember crouching down by the median of the highway while it was still closed. And I was just exhausted. I was just exhausted. And once again, I was thinking, well, it's because we've been up all night or it was a stressful call. But that was the first time in my career that after a call, I was mentally and physically just exhausted. The cup is getting more and more full, and it's getting to the point where it's overflowing. My friend and a neighbor, unfortunately, took his life. And in the process of him doing that, there was other things going on in the background. His wife was calling us, asking where he was. And I was like, "Oh, his car is not in the driveway. He's not home. It's probably visiting friends." And there was a lot going on with him that we just didn't know. Unfortunately, my wife and I were going to bed, and his wife comes home, and all I can hear is screaming. And I said to Katrina, I said, "She's found him, and he's dead." And Katrina couldn't believe it. And that was once again a very traumatic situation. That's what led me to go into that training role to get off the trucks. And it wasn't that I felt that I need to get off the trucks because of my trauma. I think I was just so exhausted with going to these emergencies and being faced with high stress, decision making, and seeing people in very stressful situations. That's why I really strongly, like when we have a recruit class, I always tell them, like, make sure that you're keeping things in check. If things are starting to go south, if you're noticing that you're not yourself, like, make sure that you can talk to somebody or come and talk to me. Like, I haven't seen everything in this world, but I've lived through some pretty traumatic stuff. And I'm just so thankful because so many of my friends had this ability to be able to do it. But I got to my maximum ability to do the job efficiently that I felt, but I still had a passion to still be a part of it. Where I think in so many circumstances that when that cup does get full and overflows, that they got to walk away from the job and be away from the job. And that's fine. Like, I totally understand that. But I really hope that in the short part of my career that I have left, is that if there's anything that I could tell people, is that this job it's going to be traumatic and you're not going to know it in the moment. It's going to take time, and seek the help that you can get if you can get it before it's too late.
Did you end up reaching out to find someone to talk to?
No, it's really hard for me to answer this question and say no, because I've talked to so many people about going to get help. And I think with me, when I really needed it, because there were some times, boy, oh boy, I was reaching out to a couple of people. I'm like, "Hey, I need a phone number." And they're like, "Oh, why? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, it's not for me. It's for somebody else." Like, and you would call these professionals and they were never available. They were never available at the moment. They were never available because they were too busy. They couldn't take on new clients. And I was just like, holy cow. But I think the reason why I'm doing okay today is because I have a fantastic wife who is extremely understanding. She doesn't hold grudges because, when I get into these crusty moods, she's just an unbelievable woman. And I'm very thankful for her. And I've got a lot of great people around me. A real close friend of mine, Dave Smith from Mississauga Fire, he's been a long time peer support person. And there was a few things that he said to me back in the day, and I'll mention this just in case people are doing this. But early in my career, for some reason, I loved taking pictures and videoing the calls that we used to go to. Because the calls that we would go to were so traumatic and so crazy. Like, we would roll up to these houses that were blowing fire out, and we would be running into them. And I'd be telling people these stories, and I would be afraid that they wouldn't believe what I was saying. So I would always record or take pictures. And I remember Dave said to me, he's like, why do you have those pictures? And I'm like, well, no, look at my phone. Look how traumatic this is. Look how many body parts. Look how horrible this tragic accident is. And he's like, Paul, why? What are you doing? Delete that. And I'm like, well, no, I look at it to remember how bad it was. He goes, yeah, that's the problem. And I was just like, whoa, it was just one of those light on moments. It's like, yeah, what are you doing? You're revisiting this trauma every time you're looking at these pictures. And Scott, if I told you I had hundreds, I had thousands of these pictures, because I would want to be out. And for some weird reason, I would see you. I go, hey, Scott. Oh yeah. You're like, Paul, oh, you should see this fire that we had and these people who died, and look at the pictures. It was one of those things I think I did because I wanted to prove, how badass we were, or how many calls we went to. I don't know, but I didn't realize that revisiting those pictures was just creating more and more trauma and not allowing myself to move on. Like and Scott, I'm telling you, buddy, when Dave told me that, I came home because I had a hard drive with all this stuff off my phone. And I go into those pictures, and to delete them was very difficult. Like, how freaking weird is that? Like, I had all these pictures on this hard drive, and I'd pull them up, and I was reminiscing again, but I was like, whoa, no, like, this is traumatic. Like, I'm rolling up under a real bad call here in this video. And I would start trying to delete them. And I deleted a lot of them. But then I got to the point that I don't even look at it. I have the hard drive here, but I don't even look at it. I haven't looked at it in probably 6 years.
Do you think it would be cathartic for you if you just got rid of all of it?
I always kind of go back to the alcoholic. And you see an alcoholic at a party and they're drinking Coke or Pepsi or water, and everybody around them is just drinking like mad, crazy. Meanwhile, this individual had a serious drinking problem and could stand there and just drink water. And I find with myself that I know the pictures are there. I know the pictures are in the hard drive. I know what my history, I know what my past is, but I want to be able to deal with it. I want to be able to know that there's alcohol in the room and I'm not going to drink it. Instead of it's not here, I go down to the Ivy Arms with some friends that are having beers, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get into those beers. So it's a weird mind strengthening, or I don't know how to explain it, situation for me where I want to know that the stuff is there, but I just know that I have the power that I'm not going to look at it.
Talk to me about the promotions to acting chief training officer and chief training officer in Oakville.
I will be forever grateful for the Oakville Fire Department, forever grateful, because they took me in during a time when I was hurting. Like I just explained, I was hurting. And if anybody met me, they would not realize that I was hurting, because I think whenever I went down to Oakville, it gave me that new breath of life. I was around new people. I could be who I wanted to be in front of them and show them that I love the job. I love seeing them get better, and opportunity. Like the opportunity I've had in Oakville has been unbelievable. And I've gone through a lot of bosses. I would like to believe it's not me that's scaring them away. It's opportunity somewhere else. But I've had a lot of deputies, great deputies. And I started there July 2018. 2 years later, I was promoted to acting chief training officer, which was a great responsibility. Once again, it got me a little less hands-on, a little bit seen behind the curtain of the Oakville Fire Department, a little bit deeper into the training programs. And that was really exciting. But I also had a great boss, Sean Matheson, a fantastic human. Once again, so many things came natural to him in that role. Like he should have been a principal at a school. Like the way he can put stuff together, it made it look so easy that it was easy for me to be his assistant, because he took on so much of the very difficult roles while I still had the ability to be hands-on. Being promoted to CTO when Sean left in 2023, it was something that I've always like I thought when I go down to Oakville, like I went there for opportunity. I'm getting opportunity and I got to take it. But what I realize now in the CTO role is that I'm a firefighter. I am a firefighter. You look at my CTO, my chief training officer gear, and the knees are rubbed out of it. I'm on like, I don't know how many pairs of firefighter boots. So I've had a real difficult transition into the CTO role. I'm very grateful for it. I was up against some fantastic people for that role. Once again, extremely grateful. And this CTO role has really kicked my butt. Like, I'll be completely honest. I'm not afraid to say it. It has been a very tough transition because when I look out my window, which overlooks our amazing training center down there, and I see guys and gals out there throwing ladders and moving hose, where do you think I want to be? And so Chief Drew Boyes, now the chief of Burlington Fire Department, he would come out and he smokes. Everybody knows he smokes. He'd come out, and he's a big man. He'd be there having a smoke, and he's like, "Hey, Chief, can I talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yeah, Deputy, what's up?" And he goes, "I understand what you're doing, but I need those reports done by next week." And I'm like, "Damn it!" And he'd always give me a good chuckle, but I know he was getting frustrated with me because I wasn't doing it, and I wasn't doing the department a service by not doing what the CTO is supposed to be doing. At the desk, programming, planning, future, like looking into the future. What do we need? I'm still growing and I'm still learning, and I find it to be like, I'm so proud to go out and tell people, yeah, I'm the chief training officer of the Oakville Fire Department. Like, can you freaking believe that? And I really hope to, in the next few years, because I would like to retire soon, is that when I leave, people could say, hey, listen, Paul gave this department everything that he had. Because when I left Milton, I was really proud that when I left, I felt that I gave that department and that community everything I had. Like, I'm a type of person, Scott, and I hope that you notice it, that I'm a person that I wear my heart on my sleeve. What you see is what you get. And I literally gave Milton Fire Department everything that I had. And when I left, I had zero regrets. When I'm in Oakville, there's so many challenges there. There's still so much for me to learn. And I hope that the time that I retire from Oakville, and I would be so proud to have my name added to the retirement list, that they would say, hey, Hollingshead gave everything that he had. He was a great guy. And the CTO role is probably one of the toughest, humbling experiences. And we go back to the issues I was having with the traumatic situations that I was dealing with. I think what keeps me moving forward is that this job has always got me on my toes, and I always need to work that bit harder to try and keep things moving forward and keeping the guys and gals happy. Like, if I'm letting the guys and girls down, like, it would be horrible for me. Like, if someone came to me and said, hey, Paul, like, we're falling far behind and it's your fault, I'd be devastated. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. But we've got such a great crew. The guys that I work with in Oakville, the successes, and I know this is going to sound cheesy, but the successes that the Oakville Fire Department has, it's the people there. It's not me. My training officers are unbelievable. Like, what our department sees in our training officers is probably only 50% of what these guys can put out. Like, we've got such a fantastic team, and they are putting out such a great product. And it's nice because everybody looks back to me and says, oh, wow, Paul, great work. Well, no, it's not me. I try to give these guys as much opportunity and leeway. And now there's decisions that I need to make. And I'm like, no, guys, this decision needs to be made. And that's final. But I really hope the guys understand that they're putting out a great product, and it's all them. All the successes that we have had, it's because of the great team that we have down there.
You've touched on this along the way, but maybe talk more about what you've learned about yourself, the job, and teaching, sort of looking back on the journey. You listed a bunch of points, so I want to make sure we touch on those.
I think that one of the things that my teaching career has really taught me is that I have to understand that there's probably going to be people in the room that know more about a topic that I'm talking about. And that was a humbling moment for me as well. Back early in my teaching career with Milton, is that one of the volunteers there was like top-notch carpenter. This guy knew everything about carpentry. And I was stumbling along on a topic. And he knew that I was, and I didn't realize how deep he knew building construction. And I learned at that moment, don't force it. Don't fake it. If there's something that you don't know in the moment, just say, hey guys, like I've had a little bit of brain fog on this. I need to look into it before I comment on it. I'm not too sure. Or, hey, we're talking about type 2 construction here, guys. Like, has there anybody in the room here that's worked on a type 2 construction or can tell me a little bit more about it? And then you'll see a hand go up. And it's like, oh, yeah, we restore 1,800 homes. And yeah, type 3 construction, you got to be careful. They're renovated, blah, blah, blah. And that's one of the things that I really learned is to try and stay humble. And I'm very grateful for my experience. Like, I always recommend people that go into the training division is this, try and get as much experience as you can, especially for a person myself, who doesn't come from a natural teaching background. My grandmother on my mother's side was a teacher, and I didn't have an opportunity to really listen to too much of her stories of when she was a teacher back in the day. But by me having all my job experience, it has really helped me in that training role, because I can recall back to when I was at a certain call and this is what happened and this is what I saw. And so that's really helped me. But staying humble, and whenever you're in front of a crowd and you're talking, you kind of always have in the back of your head that someone here probably knows more about a certain topic or something that you're talking about. And if you don't know something, don't fake it, because you lose credibility very quickly. One of the things too I enjoy is that when I moved down to Oakville, I was hit with some resistance. Like, they're like, oh, who's this guy from Milton? And what's he going to tell me? And there was a lot of times where people were quite disrespectful towards me. And people would always say to me, Hollingshead, like, why would you put up with that? Like, that person was very disrespectful. And I said, well, listen, no, we talked later about it. We talked face to face about it. I would sooner them do it a little more professionally than some of these guys did. But I would sooner someone come to me and say, hey, I don't like this, or why are you doing that? Or I don't like the way you said this, or did you know you didn't do this right? I'm very thankful. If there's anything in my career that I could be very, very thankful for, is that I have this ability to allow people to come to me and tell me that they're not happy with something, because I think, like, I want to know, I want to learn from that. And sometimes these guys are wrong. I'm like, no, dude, like, that's not what I was saying, and that's not what I meant, and this is what I meant, because this is what I know. But I never want to discourage. I don't want to let rank. I'm the chief training officer. How dare you question me? When it's done respectfully, of course. But I want people to come to me and say, hey, I'm not happy with this. Because if they don't come to me and tell me this, I continue to make potential errors and blunders that could be hurting my credibility or lessen the opportunity for me to learn. So the teaching journey, especially going down to Oakville, there's a lot of very proud, bright, experienced people down there that really keep me in check. And I really do enjoy it. Does it get frustrating sometimes? But I get frustrated because it's me. I'm not prepared enough. I wasn't prepared enough. That's why I'm frustrated. I'm not frustrated at Lisa or Mark or Trevor for coming to me and saying something. I should be upset at myself for not being better prepared. That's one of the things that I really enjoyed during my teaching career. I always say to recruits, there's two things you can't fake, is hard work and experience. And I always go back to Tim Roberts' quote on any fire department can make you a firefighter, but it's your choice to be a great firefighter. And I fall into the trap of being very opinionated, because I've seen almost 160 people come through that training division in Oakville in 8 years. Like, it's a large volume. Like, that town supports its fire department like I've never, ever seen. Like, when you get a mayor at a recruit graduation brag about how quick he can get professional firefighters to your front door, like, it's unbelievable. So whenever we need to hire, they hire. And I've seen 160 people essentially come through that training division. And I see all these smiling faces and all these people who say, I want to be in Oakville. I want to give it everything that I have. I want to be the best that I can be. And after a couple of years, if I'm not seeing what they said that they wanted to be, I get quite opinionated. I get quite upset. It's the whole Tim Roberts. I keep going back to Tim Roberts again. Like, he saw more in me than I could ever imagine. Like, everything I have today is because of the confidence in that man and what he saw in me to push me to get out of my comfort zone and put in that work. And so when I get frustrated with people, I think they understand that I'm not mad at the individual. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad because you're not giving me the effort that I know that you're capable of doing. And I know it sounds cheesy, and leadership people will say this all the time, but I truly believe it, because I get to see these people come in as new recruits, as people who made promises to the deputies in their interviews. And then I see them a year later and their feet up and they're not really putting in the effort. I'm like, I know you're so much better than this. So my teaching journey has given me a great opportunity to stay on top of people and wanting to get to see them be the best that they can be. So True North Fools is one of the things that I recently kind of got hooked in with, because you get in around these people that have similar passions for the job. Like Riley now, he's heading it up, and even his text messages he'll send me, I get fired up about fire stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's amazing. So being in the training division, you're around like-minded people and you get fired up about stuff, or someone will send you a video about a fire on Instagram or whatever. Like, oh yeah, look at this. The way they forced that door, it was seamless, and they go in, they put the fire out. Oh, look at this. So I always really encourage the firefighters to get themselves surrounded by like-minded people who have the passion for learning, the passion for wanting to be better at the job, and taking courses and staying on top of their career. Being the CTO in Oakville, people will call me up and say, hey, Hollingshead, I heard about this conference that's happening. What do you think? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been there. It's amazing. It's a great opportunity. Like, whatever help you need to get there, like, let me know. I'll see what we can do.
Let's finish off by talking about the Fire Service Women of Ontario Symposium and the upcoming Smokas showing. So tell me about how that experience was and what you're looking forward to with the Smokas showing coming in June.
Well, it's really funny that you mentioned the Fire Service Women. So my first interaction with them, because I work with Monique Belair, she wanted me to go participate in the Fire Service Women that was held out in Kitchener back in 2018. I'll be dead honest, it was not a very good experience for me, because I felt like I wasn't welcome. I felt out of place. I felt that it's really hard to explain. But I went back and I told Chief Belair, I'm like, that's not the type of people I want to be around. Like this, I had a real bad feeling about this. Like, I don't know. It's not right to me. And it had nothing to do with women in the fire service. It just, I don't know. So whenever it was announced that they were coming to Oakville in 2025, I really had my back up. And I was just like, how is this going to work? Like, here I am. I'm the chief training officer. I'm the face of the department, training division. Like, how am I going to get through this? And oh my gosh, meeting the girls on the board there, they were so amazing and helpful and encouraging and just such wonderful people. And I kind of thought I was dreaming. I'm like, how is this possible? These fantastic people are in the fire service and I haven't met them. And what the heck? Fire Service Women went off without a hitch, and it was unbelievable. The Saturday alone, I walked 25,000 steps that day, walking around, because I was just watching the instructors and the women and yourself and your crew, and the information that was being shared during that conference was unbelievable. And when I said to the directors, I'm like, oh, like, it's a shame that not everybody can come to this. And she's like, well, no, everybody can come. Like, sure, it's called Fire Service Women and it is catered towards women. But if men want to participate in this learning, they should apply. They should join. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is unbelievable. And it just had me fired up. Last year, I was so fired up from Fire Service Women. It was so great. And with the True North Fools and helping them out in Kitchener for their program that they ran was once again amazing. I'm watching you just talk for hours and hours about the search and the VEIS and all the stuff that you're talking. Dude, every day I left there, I wasn't doing anything other than just being a safety geek, And I was exhausted because I was just watching you guys, and it was amazing. And then now they're going to be doing the Smoke is Showing in Oakville in June. It's the first weekend in June. And they're going to have Kyle Ramakas come up and his crew. And I'm so excited. The weeks leading up to it, we have a recruit class going on, a relatively big one of 15 people. So it's going to be a busy spot, but we're going to be making sure that place is squared away and welcoming all the people there for that conference. And I'm so fired up about it. Like, I'm shaking right now thinking about it. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah. Take the Doors doing their search school too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. If you're listening to this and you have an opportunity to go, like, it's funny because when people heard through the grapevine that this was happening, I was getting text messages from all around. Is this happening? Is this happening? And I said, I don't know. I haven't had actual confirmation, but I know it's going to sell out fast. If people don't get on this, it's going to be amazing. It's right in the heart of the GTA. We have an unbelievable campus. I know I'm very, very passionate about the Oakville Fire Department and our training division and our campus, but we've got an amazing campus, and to be able to show it off to such great instructors, it's going to be a great weekend.
Anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
I think about retirement, and I think about generational retirement. I'm kind of letting this kind of go through my head right now. Generational retirement. And I can understand why some people leave the job and they're grouchy. And it's not necessarily grouchy because of the trauma of the job and the pace of the job, but it's the newer generation coming in is different and it changes. And if you don't have an open mind to it, it starts to wear you down. And I think as I get closer to retirement, even though I'm young, it will probably be time, because I don't want to become one of those crusty CTOs who's just angry all the time. Why aren't these kids working harder? And why aren't they more involved? And why aren't they paying attention? So I think as I get closer to retirement, I will be taking that actual official retirement date more seriously. And it's because I want to leave on a high note. Like, some people leave the fire service and they're just burnt out. And I don't want to go out that way. I want to make sure that I'm still happy and I still love it. I'm leaving because I'm financially okay to do it. I'm mentally okay to do it, but it's time for me to go. I think that's kind of what my focus is. And it's weird because, dude, in 99, like, thinking about retirement, like, I was very fortunate that I was working with a guy who was about to retire. And he got me thinking about retirement funds and retirement savings and making sure that my OMERS is squared away. And I'm very thankful for it, because now I'm getting close to retirement and I'm looking pretty good, and it's really good. And I just think that to give any advice for people who want to get into the fire service, it is an amazing career. Like, the times that women have given me their babies, like, I mean, less than 1 year old, they handed me their baby because they had to go get their purse or they had to look for something. And like, the trust that the public puts in us, I would never, ever, ever want to jeopardize the trust that the fire service has with the public. And I hope that every interaction that our firefighters have with the public, it's a positive one. They show the public that we care, we're here, we're working as hard as we can for them. And you will be constantly fulfilled in this career if that is your mindset, that you're there to help people and you want to be the best, absolute best that you could be. So when you enter into their situation, that you can help them and that they're safe, and you leave the situation and they're feeling better. So, Scotty, I really appreciate this. This is a huge honor. When I look back at all your pods, all the unbelievable people on here, and you've asked me, it's a huge honor. I don't know if you'll get one listen or 1,000 or 10,000. I don't know, but
I think you'll do just fine.
I hope someone could pick up on something.
This was special for me too. Like, I definitely recognized over the years that even people that I know, it's nice to sit down for an hour and a half or 2 hours and just focus on them solely. And I just get a deeper friendship with people because I learn more about them, right? I know much more about you now. So it's important to me too.
And I want you to know that you're the type of person, you're like the Riley, the Andrew Broussards, the Mike Tazarskis, these guys that whenever you get around, you just can't help but get just jacked up about the job, because you just start talking about stuff and you're just like, hey man, did you know about this? Or did you learn about this? Or did you hear about this? Or this is what I would say. And hey, anyways, I could get all fired up about this again, but thank you very much, man, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.